Somebody called my wife.
And said,
she's, that Lerone's in jail. And so she said something to my son who was in the kitchen at the time. He ran out of the house, and this is what I guess you would call a usual neighborhood type thing. And he ran out of the house, ran up the streets, saying, telling everybody, Dad is in jail. Dad is in jail. Dad is in jail. It's a badge of honor. Dad is in jail. I had gave some evidence of the seriousness of my vocation. Then we got into jail, and they threw us into a holding room. And everybody knows what that is, and there were people in the holding room who had been arrested legitimately, if I put it. Not illegitimate. They'd been arrested for other reasons. And so we went into the holding room, and in those days you taught everywhere. Everybody, you know. So one of my good friends, one of my brothers, you know, when I was told a brother who had been arrested for other reasons, he said, "You know who this is? So you know who that cat is? He wrote Before the Mayflower, you know." And the brother looked at him and said, and he kept on saying, he's a black historian. He wrote this and he wrote that. And the man said, yeah, And my friend, my PR agent, he kept on. I said, man, let it go. He kept on. And finally he got a rise out of this brother who was in there for some other purpose. He stood up and he said, "You mean this man wrote a book?" And my friend said, "Yes." And the brother, who was a philosopher, you know what the brother said? The brother said, "Will that get us out of here?" Have you ever heard a question, you know, I mean, for an intellectual, I mean, whatever you're doing, you painting a photo, a picture, you singing, will that get the brothers and sisters out of here, out of this situation? It's driven me all those years, and I just never heard it put better. Will that get us out of here?
And the answer is?
In some cases it will, in some cases it won't, but it will not alone if you don't organize and use it. And I temper that with another thing, that oh, I've been so blessed, and I shouldn't say that, so touched by the huge number, not huge, large number of brothers I've met on the streets, on Wabash, walking up and down the streets, in Michigan, all over this country, who said to me that, "Thank you, man. When I was in the joint, that book changed my life." The number of people who said that was the first book I'd ever read, and it changed my life. So
how did it change their lives? How did it?
He said, made me understand some of my history, made me understand that we are great people, and that I ought to be about something other than what I was about when I came in here. So yes, it can change people, but you have to organize. And you have to struggle, and you have to do some other things to do. If you give me two things I want to say before we go, I make the point always that since the movement, everything has changed in Black America, and yet nothing has changed. I make the point, you know, that you go to Atlanta, everything has changed in Atlanta, and yet fundamentally nothing has changed. You look out here in Chicago, go up on the Magnificent Mile, everything has changed in race relations in Chicago, and yet fundamentally nothing has changed. We made great advances on the political level, more middle-class people, but the economic situation has not changed. The power situation has not changed. We have not yet gotten down to the bottom line, the integration of the money and the power and division. And the point growing out of that for me is I think every black person is obligated from my Bennett Mays days to try to do what he does as well as any person who ever lived can do it, or any person who ever lives can do it. Then to try to save one, just one person if you can. And then to struggle to destroy a system which is multiplying black victims faster than all that black intellectuals and the black leaders in America can talk about. So I see those three things connected, and I think it's difficult, but I think a black intellectual or a black person who knows where his next meal is coming from has to do all three. Now, some people tell me, you know, I'm going out to the hood and save this little brother. Amen. Save the sister. But that's not enough. That's not enough. I mean, because if you go to the hoods of this country, they're manufacturing victims quicker than you can bat an eye. They're turning out drug addicts and dropouts the same way that Detroit turns out cars. It's like an assembly line. So I maintain that we have got to deal with a system which kills 2 black infants for every white infant born, and which decides automatically that the average white man will live 7 years longer than the average black man. That's a system. It has nothing to do with individuals, and I try to say everywhere that you got to do all three things.